Hey guys, welcome back. It's time to see why this temple is so holy.
What is this?
This is the hope of Aurelia, human. All that we see is noble and good and pure. All that we aspire to is held in that symbol. It is held in you.
I never understood.
It is a heavy weight you carry, human. Epochs of history, the tides of war, the blood of nations. All of this is laid at your feet.
But how can I possibly be held to... I mean, it's not...
It is not easy being God. What has just happened?
That room. It was... waiting for me. Has been waiting for me. Waiting for so long.
We must move now before the Seekers circle around the bridge.
Yes. Yes, let's go.
And we get a new shiny object and a new psychic power. Time Shift boils down to a dash attack right now, where Gideon throws his body against his enemies. Time Shift is actually one of the more broken powers in the game, especially once you unlock its alt fire, but right now it sort of seems worthless. It's much better balanced as its normal dash attack than its secondary mode. As you can see, we already got level 2 on it. It levels up faster than any other psychic power. That glowing object we picked up, by the way, that's one of the big mysteries about this game, because it doesn't ever come up again after that cutscene. Obviously because it was intended to be used in the sequels, but I found a few things about it in the game code, which I'll share with you guys later on. Explaining what I know about it involves spoilers at this point, so I'll save it. Something about Time Shift is that the collision fields are a little messed up when Gideon is dashing, so you can squeeze your way through some areas, and there are some pretty big breaks you can do. It'll be featured pretty prominently in some of the breaking videos I'll be posting. Time Shift's alternate fire is Time Damp, which allows us to activate bullet time whenever we want, whereas before we could only activate when we're dodging, and that would be automatic. Time Damp allows us to just run up to any enemy and beat them to death and not even have to sweat it at all. It's basically the key to cheesing this game. If you overuse it, the game is won at this point. And there you had the most sweeping and majestic track in the Advent Rising soundtrack. That was Poeta, which is also the title screen theme. If there's nothing else you like about this game, you have to love the music, because that piece does a fantastic job of setting up this section. It's the areas where you're fighting off enemies and the music swelling and everything. It reminds you of why you like this game and why this game is pretty good. Unfortunately, a whole horde of titans break through this wall, so you're in for a long fight because of how much damage they can take. I may as well point out that when you see the Aurelians shooting something, they're not actually doing any damage to that thing. Their weapons aren't even programmed to hurt enemies. So you much prefer the Aurelians to run up and actively melee someone. Well, it looks like we've got a grate here that leads directly into the Seeker base.
We need to get that grate open.
Stand back.
I had not realized the conveniences accompanied with deity.
Ugh. I'm gonna feel that one in the morning.
This door will not open unless we trigger the release switch.
I'll get it. Where's the switch?
Down there. You are brave, human.
Again, that section of the cutscene where you can see the health bar and the U's in the upper left corner. Again, that was not gameplay, that was cutscene again. Anyways, this section is really good for showing off how ridiculous time damp can be, especially against normal Seekers. Because usually a normal Seeker will have no way to fight back against you. At least some of the bigger enemies can do more damage and you can be left out in the open, but not so in this case. I was messing around in this section last night and I found it's probably one of the areas where you do not want to explore too much if you're trying to cast this game in a good light. It's very easy to break out of it, get over to certain areas you're not supposed to be, largely because they just handed you Time Shift. And Time Shift has some interesting properties I'll probably go over in one of the breaking videos. But this and the next little level thing are pretty bad with regards to how you can get out of the map. Well, we're certainly leveling up our melee a lot in this video. That's something about Time Shift. Once you unlock Time Damp, chances are your melee level will raise a lot very quickly. Mainly because when you're using Time Damp, you don't want to use other psychic powers that will drain your psychic energy. And guns are kind of a problem, which I'll bring up in a little bit. And it's sort of like you go to melee because it's the simplest option. And you're not in danger of getting hurt anymore.
Excuse me, Exalted One.
There's a Seeker dropship that spawns here, but I can never find where it's supposed to spawn normally. Usually that happens. It usually comes from the cliff where the Ansible is, but there are times where it will not spawn there. It will spawn behind that area, or it will spawn on top of that area. And Seeker dropships in general seem to have an unusual spawning thing. I've encountered a couple where they spawn underneath areas or in areas where they can't get out of.
So this entire thing is made of glass, eh? And this is supposed to be an advanced?
Superiority. But they
I'll take that here.
I decided to step back here and use Sphere so you guys could see me blowing out all the glass. But there are two panels here which do not blow out no matter what you do. I don't know how that happened, but yeah. And no, I don't have an explanation for why these speakers come down with this weird growing animation. They do that every time you play this level. I figured I might as well mention again how much I really like the way they set up this chapter. Like I said at the start, they begin it by, setting up the Ansible as your target. And then as you progress through the chapter, you get closer and closer and you start surrounding it, circling it basically. And it's a really effective way to tell the player, you're making progress, you're getting places. This is one of the few instances in which the game gives you Furies to actively pick up off of gun racks. This is probably one of the more Fury-focused chapters of the game. It's nothing compared to the Talmage in Chapter 3, where every time you ever needed a weapon there was a Talmage in a case or on the ground, but it's somewhat odd considering we don't really have many difficult enemies to deal with. Chapter 6 has a few areas like that, but there's usually turrets or dropships around. Here it's somewhat scattered. Gotta take out some more Seekers, and then a lift, not that one, but one in the center of this area will rise out of the hangar section below us. And this is the reason why you probably don't want to use time damp with guns. When you fire a Fury rocket, it gets the next rocket loaded at the slowed down speed instead of the normal, so basically your guns are affected by the time damp too. The only thing that will go faster is you reloading the entire gun, but it won't fire any faster, so it's really emphasized that you should not use other weapons besides melee with time damp. And that's going to be the end of this update. Tune in next time when we take down the Ansible. I'll see you then.